Thank you to Fabric Mart for gifting me the fabric for this project.
Hello friends, welcome to a new video. I have worn various court gowns over the past 2 years and have not been able to spend an entire day in them. Usually by late afternoon, I just need out. Comfort is a thing. So that is when the idea of the loose gown was created. So if you don't know, I am completely enamored with the wardrobe of Eleanor de Toledo. And she is pictured in a few of her portraitures wearing loose gowns. These are typically things that have a structured collar, they can have a little bit of a wing, and they are very loose fitting. They're meant to kind of just give a bit of an elegance of a silhouette, to not be form-fitting, to just like drape over the gown and the body, hence the term a loose gown. With that in mind, when I was looking for the fabric for this project, I was looking for natural fibers, I was looking for something lightweight, and I was looking for something to layer over my more working class garb to fancy them up a little bit. So let's get into the patterning of this thing. I did not want to create an entirely new pattern. This is a garment that I have made before when I made my silver gown and the blue and fur overgown. And so I knew what the basic shape needed to be, and with the amount of experimentation that I have been doing over the past decade with mid-16th century patterning, I knew exactly what my plan of attack would be. I, for undisclosed reasons, have a patterning box of multiple sized doublets. I knew that I could make this the foundation of the loose gown. So let me show you how I did that. Here is the basic doublet pattern that I was working with. The first thing that I knew that I wanted to do was make sure that it fit the way it needed to across my upper chest, because once it gets to about bust range is when it's going to start flaring out. So the center front remained as straight as possible. I knew that I would need some sort of fitting underneath the arm size, which is why I gave about a 3 to 4 inch gap before I started flaring out the pattern. I ended up misjudging things a little bit, and so in mine I ended up adding gores into the sides, and honestly this was a great use of leftover fabric that I just had anyway. This is also piecing, which is totally period, and I am obsessed with the way that it came out. So once I had the general shape outlined, I knew that I would need to add in some sort of internal structure because I wanted the collar to have that iconic doublet look. It's never going to stand up like a proper doublet because I haven't done any of the pad stitching or internal structure stitching, but it is going to be a little bit stiffer than if I had just used this lightweight linen and then the silk lining on its own. And this is where I took my knowledge of mundane tailoring, especially for lightweight tropical sport coats, and I kind of threw it at this project and said this is the way we're going to go. In the photo here, you can see the parts that I have shaded in blue. These are the parts that I cut out of canvas, and it was just enough to be able to provide structure on the upper body without needing a full lining in the back to cover any kind of canvas, as well as giving the neckline or the collar the stiffness and the rigidity that it needed to pretend to stand up. It doesn't really. But because I had preemptively planned this internal structure, I was able to continue to keep the garment incredibly lightweight, and the way that it just billows, it's magical. Just random side note, I am completely obsessed with these tall standing collars that just like frame your jawline. Like, look at how beautiful this stands on me. At some point I need to do proper pad stitching and just like make the doublet correctly. I think the part that tripped me up the most on this entire project is I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do for the wings. I didn't know if I wanted a cute little frilly detail from the fabric that was the lining. I also used a secondhand sari as the lining, and so I had this like decent amount of trim that I could have like done some really cute stuff with, but at the end, because I wanted this to be such a versatile garment in my historical wardrobe, I tried to make it as plain as possible. And so that's why I ended up going just for the normal fashion layer doublet wings. Sewing a half lining in actually proved to be a little bit of a challenge that I didn't expect. I mean, you do it the same way that you sew a normal lining in, but you only go like 3 inches on the inside, and then you gotta figure out what to do with the rest of everything. To tack the lining down, I ended up just sewing it to the seam allowance of the back panel piece. And it works decently enough. It also means that literally none of the seams on the inside are finished to perfection like I would normally want, but we're going for function, and this is an incredibly functional garment. And because I didn't do any sort of flat felling or anything like that, if I need to go in and adjust this garment later for any reason, to add more in the gores, to take the gores out, replace something, it's going to be much easier, and I'm not going to have to worry about the fabric fraying and falling apart with the itty bitty seam allowances that you get with flat felling. What I do not have footage of is me standing in the craft room and my partner on the floor marking my hem level. It was honestly one of the cutest experiences of our entire relationship, to just be standing there and hearing like the thunk of the ruler and the scrape of the pencil, and them being like, I don't know if I'm doing this right. I'm like, you got this, you're doing great, you're doing better than I could do, because I can't mark my own hem, obviously. For the hem, I did choose to do a simple double fold hem. I think it ended up about 2 inches off the ground, which is like ideal for when you want something to look floor length but still like want it off the ground, because it's a functional garment, and like trains are beautiful but not functional. I finished this just in time to go home, sew an entirely new working class dress, and then go to an event the next weekend. It was a little bit of crazy insane sewing, but I could not be happier with how everything turned out. When you go to events, sometimes there are photographers. These are wonderful people who put a lot of work and energy into their craft to help document things for us. At this event, I ended up getting an award or a recognition for my costuming specifically, and that was really nice. But also because of that, I got a decent amount of pictures of me in this loose gown that day. We will excuse my hair. I was being lazy and I forgot all of my hair accessories. Anyway, that is the entire saga of sewing this loose gown. I look forward to wearing this more. That is all I have for you. I will see you guys next time. Bye, friends!